then I will have this sent to you by tomorrow morning so you can go back and check it out afterwards. So what got you interested in coaching?
You mean me personally, or
Yeah.
about this coaching session?
Yeah, well, what got you personally interested in this coaching session? Yeah.
Well, and also, I mean, you probably read what I wrote. So I'm also coaching Overwatch,
Okay.
like more as a hobby.
Sure.
And I've never been coached before, so I'm really interested in, how it's how it's feeling to be coached yourself instead of just coaching.
Sure.
First of all, and second of all, yeah, I just want to improve my gameplay as well. Like I'm really,
Okay.
especially concerning Overwatch, I'm really dedicated for some reason. I love the game a lot, and I want to be the best player I can be.
Sure.
Like not the best player in the world or anything, but just the best player I can be, and like use my maximum potential.
Yeah. Makes sense.
And
Okay.
that's what I'm working towards.
Okay. You said
So,
you do a little bit of
that's also
coaching
the reason.
yourself. Okay. What kind of coaching do you do?
All across the board, actually.
Nice.
Like every role and every hero. I think I
Is
have
it one-on-one coaching, team coaching, or
both actually.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah, like I think I have a pretty decent understanding of what everything is supposed to do, at least to like a certain level. But when it comes to like higher elos like Masters GM and Masters and GM top 500, I'm not as strong. Like my tank is really good, or not really good, but I'm GM3 on tank right now.
Okay.
So I'm pretty decent, and I'm also the best in coaching tank, obviously. I mean, in that case.
It's always how it works.
But on the other roles, like on support and DPS, I'm not as confident.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. All right, sounds good. So you're looking today for specifically your gameplay coaching, though.
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, Tankman, I'm looking through your form here. How long have you been playing Overwatch?
I've been playing Overwatch for, I don't know, I've started 1 year after release. So it's like 7 years now, I believe. 6.5, I don't know.
Okay,
But I started in the first anniversary event, but
right.
It's been a long time.
Right, makes sense. Okay, and then why are we looking at DPS coaching today?
Yes, we are looking at DPS coaching. I've played Cassidy and Soldier, mostly Cassidy.
So you're trying to improve your DPS play. Is this a personal thing? Is this I just trying to get better DPS so I can understand the role better, or a little bit of both?
It's mostly because I myself want to get better and understand the role better, because I have the feeling that I sometimes struggle. I don't really know what to do in what situations.
Sure.
Sometimes I feel like I'm being too aggressive, and in other times I'm feeling like I can't really do much. I don't really know what to do in those situations.
Sure, makes sense. Okay, looking through your form here, I'm a tank main, but I enjoy improving on every hero role. I feel like I'm struggling the most on DPS. I'm also coaching Overwatch as hobby. Okay, what do you hope we got out of the session? A better understanding of the DPS role in general, and also specifically on the hero pool I play. Perfect. Sleep looks good. Obviously, if any of this has changed in the last 4 weeks, just let me know.
No, that's nothing.
What are your long-term and short-term goals in Overwatch? Short-term, reach Grandmaster in every role. Maybe this season, definitely trying for next season. Long-term, top 500 in every role. Trying to find my highest skill ceiling on every hero. Makes sense. Okay, so training time right now. With your coaching, with your playtime on DPS, what is your playtime looking like right now? Average day, average week?
This season, I've been playing a lot of DPS.
Okay.
Like, I normally play a lot of tank, and then the other roles are like when I feel. Like I'm playing them when I'm in the mood. But this season, I've been really focused hard on DPS, and playtime depends on how the games feel, I guess. Because sometimes it's not like I'm taking huge breaks in between, but sometimes on some days, especially like in the last 2 weeks, I've had a lot of really, really frustrating games on DPS.
Okay.
So I've not been playing as much, but there are also days where I play a lot of DPS.
Okay.
Or a lot of Overwatch.
What are making those games frustrating? Is it your play, team play, matchmaking, meta, a little bit of all the above?
Literally everything, a bit of everything, I guess. There's also, I have the feeling that if you play on weekends, it's not like the game quality is far worse.
Interesting.
So at least that's how it feels. Like some games just feel like either you have a really good tank and the enemy just die, and well, it's the other way around, and the enemies have a really good
Sure.
tank, and you just fall over.
It might be as well that because your understanding is worse with DPS, that in those games that feel a little bit outside of your control, you're not sure what to do, right?
Yeah, especially in the losses. But I mean, it's all on both. Sometimes you also have like a really good tank or really insane second DPS that just carries the game for you.
But lack of agency is frustrating. Like I can't control this because I don't understand it. That's tilting. Right. Okay. I mean, even as a coach, right? Like being put in coaching situations, like team coaching situations, where like I don't know what to do here. Like there's nothing more frustrating than that. You know, you could take the I'm not good enough for it just yet, but I know what I need to do. But not knowing what to do is not fun. Okay. So in terms of like, if you were to give me a ballpark estimate, if you're not boomed, not tilted, what are you aiming for in terms of games per day or hours per day on DPS?
On average, I'd say like at least 3 hours of Overwatch.
Okay.
But yeah, that's like an average. Like on some days I play a really large amount of Overwatch, and some days I don't. It all depends on how much time I have available.
Sure. That might be something to try and equalize as much as you can with your schedule, just because you have to understand like how much time do you have every day, and then how much time can I actually legitimately focus every day. And the problem is those numbers don't always line up, right? Like you have to understand it's the same thing as lifting weights, right? Even if you had all the time in the day, you still wouldn't lift weights for longer than like an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, right? Unless you're on steroids, right? So and the reason why steroids are powerful is because they allow you to heal faster so that you can lift more. They don't increase your capacity for lifting more, they increase your capacity for working more and your body's ability to recover. So imagine if you were able to take a pill that allowed you to stay focused in Overwatch for 2 hours longer every day. That's the equivalent of steroids. But we can't do that, right? So you have to be able to find what are the number of hours that I can play per day where I'm able to stay focused, I'm able to stay calm. Is getting more sleep helpful? Absolutely. Or is taking breaks between cues helpful? Absolutely. Is keeping my mentality healthy helpful? Absolutely. And if you can check those boxes, you might be able to get 3 or 4 hours of good ranked play every day. And by good ranked play, I mean totally focused, completely dialed in. And then after that, the thing that I always talk about is understanding that it's just playing for fun, right? You're not really going to have the mental energy to fully focus in. And obviously, things like work, school, other things as well sap some of that energy away as well. So I think understanding that, and then you need to interpret that as your schedule allows. If you're only able to play for an hour a day for a short period of time, that's fine. But then don't try and go, I'm going to play for 7-8 hours on the weekends, right?
No, that's
right. It's pointless. You can play 3 or 4 hours on the weekends, but it's not. You're not going to be able to play catch up at that point in time. So assuming
I also sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I also feel like when my energy is gone, I just feel okay. I can't focus on this game anymore, and I start to make really dumb mistakes. Or I also notice that I'm doing dumb mistakes, and I'm like, okay, my energy is gone.
Yeah. And then the maturity is like being able to recognize that and knowing when to pull the plug, or being able to prevent that from happening, or anticipating that about to happen and calling it there, right? I'm trying to think of a good analogy here. Amateur athletes hurt themselves because they don't quite know when to stop, right? And they don't know their limits, and they don't take good preventative habits. And the same thing goes with Overwatch. But the way you injure yourself in Overwatch is tilt, throwing games, getting frustrated, playing too long, fatiguing yourself for the next day because you played too long today. And that's the kind of stuff that you have to kind of like take a really serious look at. And it's something that's just not talked about enough. So just as long as you're aware of that. And I think also for somebody that's coaching as well, putting emphasis and time into understanding that yourself will allow you to coach other players better. I think that if I can get you into the school of, smart training and get you out there coaching other players, like you're going to have a big impact on a lot of people. Okay. Do you have any questions so far?
Nope.
Now, hero pool. You want to talk about your hero pool. As of the form Pharah Cassidy Soldier, what is it now?
Yes, it's still Pharah Cassidy Soldier. At least that's my when I play DPS, those are the 3 DPS I play the most. But I have a few second accounts where I practice other DPS. I've been practicing Genji recently. It's been a few months ago, like not that long ago, but I've been practicing him for a few months, and I've gotten pretty decent.
Okay, why Pharah Cassidy Soldier? Just DPS you enjoy?
Yeah, I mean, Pharah was kind of my first main in Overwatch. Like I started playing Overwatch and I thought, yeah, this character's fun. Yeah, so I started playing Pharah, and
Okay.
like half a year ago, I also started playing Cassidy. I've been really enjoying him.
Yep. Okay.
I don't know, Soldier just came along with it because
Sure.
sometimes I have the feeling I need some more mobility or just some more self-control.
Sure. So if
Because
you
I'm more
go,
self-sustaining.
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was ready. Actually.
Okay.
I was done.
So if your goal is to like reach Grandmasters as soon as you can, the number of heroes that you play should match the number of hours that you play on average per day. So Pharah, Cassidy, Soldier, given probably about what you're playing per day, is probably okay. But just kind of keep that one in mind. Specialization is going to be really important at your point in time, and then obviously if you have to pivot that based off of the meta, or you're so sick and tired of playing Cassidy and like Cassidy's garbage, and you want to pick up Ashe or whatever, like, that's fine too. Like you could pivot it whenever, but like at least on a week-to-week basis, you want to be trying to pour your hours into something. Even Overwatch League players specialize, right? They'll shift their specialization depending on the meta, but you're gonna have, like right now, main tank players in Overwatch League mostly just playing Ramattra Winston. Pretty much it. That's about all you're going to play. Sometimes a little bit of Diva too, but that's pretty much all they're grinding. And you wouldn't have a player trying to play Ramattra, Ryan, Ball, Wrecking Ball, Winston. It's too much, right? So I'll kind of keep that one in mind. All right. What do you feel is holding you back from improving? You say, understanding what to do when on DPS. We kind of talked about that earlier. Sometimes I don't know how I could best help my team and what I should be focusing on. I don't think there's a lot to elaborate on there, but is there anything else that you would like to add on to that?
No, I think we've already pretty much discussed that.
Okay. Do you have any other questions before we hop into gameplay?
No, I don't have any.
Okay. You want to shoot me a code?
Yep.
Alrighty.
I don't think it's the best match for coaching ever, but
sure.
I've been playing, like, the games were really weird. I've been on a losing streak, and after that I've been on a winning streak, so yeah.
That's how it works.
Yeah. 1 sec.
Sure.
There it is.
Okay. Alright, let me get this.
It was also a kind of weird game, but I don't know.
Okay. Is this all Cassidy, or is there a little bit of a mixture here?
It's mostly Cassidy, but I've played a little bit of Soldier towards second and third point.
So Cassidy is what I would like to call the most vanilla DPS that there is in the entire game. Very simple. There is a lot of complexity in terms of like the details, but you take an angle and you hit your shots. And the angle is dynamic depending on what you're playing versus. Like I look at the enemy composition and I'm like, hey, I would like to take a longer sight line versus the pharmacy. However, I would like to get closer to the Ana Widowmaker, right? Do you see what I'm saying there? So it's like finding the balance in that positioning. And I think the reason why Cassie is a good DPS hero for that is that's really something that every DPS hero thinks about, but not to the extent of Cassie. So Cassie's like one of those heroes that's good at building that skill, so that then if you swap to Ashe, you still want to get close to Widowmaker. You still want to keep your distance from Pharmacy, and you've had a little bit of practice being able to do that. So let's take a look here. And there's obviously things like your ability usage, cover usage, crosshair placement, mechanics, movement, all of those things as well. But at least in terms of the fundamentals, like finding a good solution to that is really important. So like, based off of the enemy team's positioning, you kind of have a tough job because you're like, well, I don't want to peek this for obvious reasons, at least versus this comp. And what's the problem with this sight line here?
Well, it's not really a really good angle. Plus, if an enemy has a standing on the high ground, they could have easy cover.
Correct. I mean, you look at the pharmacy, right? This is we want to create distance from the pharmacy, so we rotate over here. Oh no, now I'm peeking the Widowmaker, right? So
I've actually peeked the Widowmaker, but I didn't die.
Right, but there's like that weird dichotomy. So you're gonna have to, and you're also playing a hero like this guy can hard flank too, right? You don't always want to, but you can. So I think for you, what I would do is, well, you tell me, what would be the best angle for you given the situation right here? Or what is an option?
That's really, I could try to play on the high ground behind the point. Sure. But I was afraid the Widowmaker would grab a shot, so that would...
So give me another solution then.
Yeah, I mean, technically I could play top right on like this little alcove, I don't know.
Very, very high risk, high reward, right? What about even just angling here? There's nothing
I've
to
never
shoot.
really thought about that.
There's nothing really to shoot right now, but you like control a sightline better. And if you hear Widow grapple up, well, then you just go take the high ground and kill her. If you don't, then the Pharah has to, if the Pharah comes this way, you've got an angle on her. If the Pharah comes this way, you have an angle on her. It's just about like creating a safe sightline and seeing what happens, right? So you're rotating into the pharmacy, but I don't really see the need to do that, right? And do you see how like now you're getting off angle, right?
Yep.
This is, by the way,
because I couldn't check this
is okay. This is okay, right? This is not too bad. I mean, obviously peeking a Widow is a little bit of ego there, but if it was an intelligent duel considering how close you were, right?
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't really have a massive advantage in that sightline here. Now she does, but now you've rotated to high ground, and this is perfect, right? Nobody's going to punish you for being here.
Yeah, but I missed my shots in the end. So.
Why do you miss your shots? Besides mechanics. You see it? I'll let it play at 0.25.
Yeah, I've been not looking at the NR.
Right.
I think
why are you
focused
moving?
on the wrong target.
Why are you moving?
That's a good question.
You know? And this is why Cassidy's a really great hero, because he's a very basic hero, but the basics of like when to flank, positions that you take, movement, all of these things are important for other heroes, but they're extremely important for Cassidy. So it forces you to build better habits. And right here, yes, you should have hit those shots, but also you made it unreasonably hard for yourself when nobody even knew you were there. Nobody was going to be shooting at you for at least a solid second and a half, and yet you were pretending like you were dueling a Widowmaker in terms of your movement.
No.
So this Widowmaker is trolling. Yep, it's a good angle. I wouldn't die for the touch here, but yeah. And see, like, look at
I've been looking at the team position, but
yeah. So look at their comp, right? Like, what do you see about their composition in terms of like your positioning? Like, what kind of mobility do they have?
Well, they don't really have that much mobility.
So what does that mean for you?
Really, so I can play, I don't know, can play more on, like, if I take a high ground position, the only real person that can contest me is like Pharmacy, I guess.
Right. If you, I'm trying to think of like a good way of looking at it, right? Your advantage versus this composition is not really necessarily your range. If you're playing versus a ball somber comp, your advantage would be your poke damage, your range, so you'd lean into that, right? But versus this composition, your advantage is your ability to kind of really just flank wherever you want, and anybody that tries to push to contest you, in theory, you have an advantage in that duel. So your aggression should be through the periphery, right? This is where your aggression matters, right? The fact that you can wrap all the way around the map. Whereas if this was a tracer ball comp, your advantage would, I'm not saying that you would never flank, but you need to be very careful. Your advantage would instead be your range, right? Overwatch is balanced around mobility and range, and heroes that are strong at one are usually weak at the other. That's why Sojourn, before her significant M1 and rail nerf, was so strong, is because she was so good at both. But for you here, this is trolling. You can't contribute here very much. This is scary for you. You've got a Sigma shield, you've got a Pharah spam, you've got a Widowmaker, and so as rough and as ugly and messy as it feels, what are your options in terms of positioning here? There's really only two.
Well, yeah, I've kind of screwed myself over by
where should you be?
The open there.
Two options.
Well, it could be on the flank on the left.
Yes,
like where I was before.
This is really crazy.
Yeah, I just thought about that as well.
You know, you would need to be very sneaky. Go ahead.
Yeah, considering where I was before, I think it would take an unreasonably long amount of time to walk over here.
I agree. So I think this would be something you'd have to set up before the fight starts, and you'd have to be very sneaky, and you'd have to execute it well. But it's an option. It's better than where you are right now. I do think that the left flank is probably the best. Somewhere along here, you could even wrap around to high ground here and peak lake, and this would be very scary for the enemy team, right? You wouldn't necessarily need to duel the DPS. Like, let's say the Widow's back there. You could shoot the tank in the back, force him to look at you. Just control the side of the map. There's no reason for you to be here. And see, you're like, oh, I'm going to go high ground, but what do you gain here, right? You're dead. Nothing. You don't... You playing here, again, Widowmaker. She's going to control the sightline. There's absolutely nothing you can do. Okay. And this is
that's what I mean by.
Go ahead.
I don't really know what to do when on DPS.
Sure,
I think that's kind of part of my tank mentality a bit.
Right.
I guess.
But what have we been talking about so far? It's been pretty much one theme.
Yeah, just go to a sideline and control.
Right.
Control a sideline that the enemies can't really punish.
Right.
Well, it's hard for them to punish.
Taking an angular position that makes sense versus the enemy comp.
Yep.
All right? And you've always been able to give me the good answer. So you need to build the habit that makes it. Now, right now, you're taking high ground. What's the risk of this angle versus their comp?
Well, the Widowmaker could peek on the right side.
Do you know what the Widowmaker is?
Nope.
So then you shouldn't be here. Does this flank make sense if the Widowmaker is on cart?
Yes.
Yes, it does. But you don't know that. So if you knew that, or the Widowmaker was dead, or they weren't on Widowmaker, this would be by far the best angle that you could take. Look at the range.
Technically, I could know that the Widow was on cart.
You could know because you see two, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I see the Pharmacy flying and the Sigmas on the front.
Right. So there's a lot of information, and this is the best angle versus the Pharmacy, right? This is great.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't know that. And so if the Widow is not on cart, where would you go instead? Like, let's say the Widow's up on controlling turret, for example.
Well, I'd have to walk right side out of spawn.
Yes, you'd have to walk right side out of spawn, go to your Hanzo's position, and maybe like look for an opportunity to wrap around hard flank even here. Like take an angle here, maybe push up to here. You could contest the Widow from the sideline, right? Or if you don't want to, you could even do this or wrap around flank, right? There's options here. So yeah, like I said, this is the best position versus the Pharmacy. But this is like the thing is like I was coaching a Tracer just yesterday, and we were talking about how like the thing that makes DPS positioning so hard is you can't memorize positions or flanks or angles to take. You have to react. Mm-hmm. You have to not only react to what your team is doing, but you also have to react to where the enemy team is positioned. And this is the problem. Like, this is a good angle to know, but right now it is a bad angle to take. I mean, this is more like your supports aren't here. Maybe you could have rolled faster. But, like, you see that... Did you notice what happened as soon as you peek this? Watch. You see? So immediately... it becomes a terrible angle to take. So, okay, let's keep going. But you really can't peek this now. You really can't.
I did.
This Widow is just like totally blind.
Yeah, she didn't even look at me.
She doesn't even look. She doesn't even look. Nice. Get away. Oh, yeah, it's unfortunate. But yeah, I mean, even if, okay, here's the funny thing though, is you're like, oh, I didn't get punished, but you did. You did get punished. You didn't get punished, but your team got punished, and so therefore you got punished. Because look at how your team is responding to this Widowmaker. Look at your tank.
Yeah, they're playing really, really far back.
Right.
Which means I can't get any support.
They need you to contest this Widowmaker, contest this flank. Not the Pharmacy. They need you here. And because you're not here, that's why they're in spawn. Mm-hmm. So, like, even when you don't get punished, you get punished.
Yeah, I mean... yeah, I don't know.
It's tough.
I mean, it's a bit same on tank, I think, because you also have to react positionally.
Yes, yes. Well, it's a good skill, right?
DPS, it's so different.
It's a good skill. Though the reason with DPS it's so different is because when you're playing a Winston, what is your goal with Winston?
Well,
you dive. What is your goal with Sigma? With ball.
You poke.
Right, right. With tank, there are dichotomies with tank. 100%. If you're playing Orisa versus Sigma, Orisa versus Winston, very different playstyles. But most tank players are more one-dimensional with what they want to do, and how they want to do it it may change. But for DPS, it's pretty dynamic, right? It's pretty dynamic in how you actually play. Okay, now they've really made your life easy right now. Now you can flank versus this comp still, but look at what the swap. You see it?
Mm-hmm.
So what does this mean for you? What kind of sightlines are you looking for?
Well,
what do you think?
I guess just stay range of Pharmacy, because I mean they don't have a Widowmaker to punish range anymore.
Right, so you could take any.
The Tracer's really
Yeah, you're essentially the sniper now, right? So like, you could hard flank, but it's a little bit more risky because you might not have a good sightline on Pharmacy, and Tracer might find you, right? But now you could take any sightline that you want, play it almost like a sniper, and you're not going to get punished.
I never play far enough away. The Tracer's also gonna really have a really hard time contesting me.
Right, and that's it exactly. I mean, look at this. They're just spoon feeding you playstyle. Look what they just swapped to.
And Genji as well.
Same thing, right? It's the exact same thing. Create distance between yourself, and all you have to worry about is Ana. So, like, I don't think your positioning is bad, but give me another option. Your positioning is fine, but give me another option.
On the left side.
Yeah,
like
you could take the left angle here, right?
Further away.
Right.
Sigma couldn't contest me.
Right. I'm not saying that this is bad. I mean, you're probably safe here. You're outside of dash range, right? So you're probably good. But it wouldn't be a bad angle to consider. And see, that's the mistake that your Hanzo is making, is this is feeding versus this comp, right? Way too close. This Genji should ruin his day. I mean, look at this. Look at this. He's not settling his feet, and then there he is. He's dead.
Yep.
Right? Whereas you, yes, your positioning, your angle could be better here. But like this Genji had to reach so far. No dash. Do you notice that?
Yep.
No deflect. Why? Well, because he had to dash to get here, right?
So he has to use deflect now.
Right. So that's a good thing. Now you have an advantage in this duel. You've created distance. He should die. There it is. Right?
No.
Your rotation was awkward. Your cover usage wasn't as good as it could have been, but you created enough distance to where you have an advantage. So you survive, and your Konzo dies.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. And there's obvious exceptions to the rule. Like right here, the fight's basically won, so you can go hunt locator and do all this foolishness. It's fine. But for the most part, that distance is going to be important for you. And like I said, this is what makes Cassidy so good, because it forces you to learn these things, which really every DPS needs to kind of know this. I mean, even high noon, right? You get back here and you got high noon. Oh my gosh, like there's nothing that can touch you. I wouldn't flank here, but if you were here, would you get punished?
Not really.
Not really, right? So I think this is a terrible sightline, but I think it's more of like an exercise of thinking, right? Where we're not saying don't flank, but the flanks that you look for create some sort of a distance, right? Where like, okay, if Sombra comes for me, yes, that is a little bit of a problem, but I'm not as concerned about that 1v1. And Genji, Sigma, nah, they can't reach me from here. And if they do, they're gonna have to reach so far. So it doesn't mean don't play flanks, just play long sidelines. A little close.
Yeah.
Nano Sigma, Nano Genji, you're cooked. Now I know you have
rolls away.
Right, you have a magnetic grenade that is good up close, but magnetic grenade is more of a hey, you have used all your abilities to close the distance. Now I will kill you. If you don't have to use your magnetic grenade versus a dive comp the entire game, then you've won the game, because they've never been allowed to get close to you. Small thing again. What's the problem here?
I'm moving again.
Yeah, I understand this. Like the Nano Sigma is shooting you, so let's put it this way. I think you should be moving. I don't think this is a mistake, but it's not a surprise that you're having a hard time hitting your shots here.
No.
Right. So again, not a mistake, but understandable that you're having a harder time. So just be on the lookout for times when you don't need to move, and then you're good to go. By the way, I'm gonna give these pro strats, okay? So they're gonna clear high ground. Yeah, I was gonna say I was gonna say, okay, so it's a little bit unfortunate that your team is on cart. So if your team was on high ground, what I would do here is I would sit all the way over here and hide. And then if you hear EMP or Blade or anything or Flux, then pop out over here in high noon and play Sniper high noon. I think that's one of the great uses of that ultimate, is if you can get a really nasty sightline in an ult fight and just use it to cause as much chaos as you possibly can. It doesn't work here because your team's is respectfully, they're morons and they're on the floor. I don't know why. But theoretically that was an option. I mean, you try to do it, it's just your team is positioned and yeah, it's whatever. Okay. Let's keep going. Okay, so
that's the soldier swap. No.
Do you play a lot of soldier? Yes.
Not that much.
Okay.
It depends.
Okay, so
I normally play Cassidy or Pharah.
Okay. So let's stick with the Cassidy for now. Maybe we can look at this a little bit of soldier later. Does that work for you?
Yep.
Okay. Let's keep going. And we're moving at a brisk pace as well. We might even have time for another code. Now, look at their comp. What do you think?
Well, especially with the Soldier Mercy Pocket, they're good at range. The Torbjorn is also good at range. It's basically a range competition.
So what should that mean for you? What kind of angles and flanks are you looking for?
Well, I don't want to be too far away because I'm not going to do any damage and they're going to do a lot of damage.
Right. So even with a fall off change to Cassie, you probably want to close the distance here at least to a little bit. So what flanks are available for you right now? You could peek here, still a little too far, but at least it's not terrible. But what else could you do?
Well, I could try to go up the stairs on the right.
You could.
But I've never managed to actually get into the position because I have to push out in the open.
Right.
I've tried to call out.
So you'll need the problem here is what do you need to be able to take that position?
Well, either our tank just takes a lot of aggression by moving forward and everyone shoots him.
Yes.
Or the tank moves up the stairs with me to protect me.
So exactly. So look at when you start to take that rotation. Do you see when you start
to early?
It's too early, right? So the soldier isn't distracted by your Orisa feeding. Your soldier isn't distracted by your Genji feeding. It's actually you go first, and so then you die first. Now your supports should have healed you, yes. But now would be the time to rotate to high. You see this? Your Genji is 1 HP.
Yeah, the Genji is also there.
Yeah, the soldier is focusing the Genji. Your Orisa is fortified, walking forward. The Sigma is actually shifting and backing up. Now's your time to take space. And not to take space by running it down, but like you said, now is the time to at least go here. And you don't even necessarily need to get the kill here. Imagine if you're the soldier here and you're hiding right here. This guy's got nightmares, right? He's terrified. Like this Mercy is so nervous, right? They're terrified that any second now you're gonna pop around, right? Yeah, it's just the nature of the timing, right?
It's just about forcing the position. If they drop, I can get the high ground.
Right. Don't be the guy leading the charge, right? All right.
Maybe I've just been playing too much Reinhardt because that's my main.
Yep. The more aggressive the flank, the later that you need to go. That's the rules. So, very important flank to take there. But if you lead the charge with it, then you're never gonna make it. Okay. On the same page. Let's go. Now we're walking forward. Your Orisa really needs to use a cover. And again, it's like, I'm going to be honest with you, a little bit unlucky. But still, it's
too early.
Just a teeny bit too far forward, right? Now, what you could do is you could roll out this way and pressure the Sigma from here.
Better.
You know?
Yeah, it's a better
and
idea.
then from here, you can always like wrap back around this way and try the rotation this way. I don't think you're feeding here like you were first fight. It's just a little bit of a wide flank. Your team's a little bit slow. And your Orisa is honestly kind of trolling. Like your Orisa really should be trying to clear out this top space. She's playing like old Orisa. Like I can actually spam and control space, but you really can't. Not versus this comp. But
no, like this is one of the situations where I just feel like I'm useless.
Right.
In this situation.
Right. And there are going to be times where like what I'm expecting of you here is really, really high level play. And there's going to be games where that's going to be what's necessary to win the game. And you're not going to be able to do it because you're not a high level player. But that's okay. What you can still do is look at this and be like, I can still practice my fundamentals here. If I had been this much better, we would have capped first point, right? Even in these
that's
games,
how you improve.
Right, exactly. So, you're always thinking about like what are these micro details that I could have improved that better. Your Orisa is just, I don't even know much. And for example, here, nothing. Nothing. I will say, I really do encourage you to try and take this left flank whenever.
Yeah, because I can actually do anything.
I play a lot as Zenyatta, and every single time I take this flank here, we get past this first joke.
I think I actually do it.
Whenever we go here, there's just no space whatsoever. It's just too easy for them to dump like literally everything in that one choke, you know? And then now, do you notice how free the Sigma is? Why? Yep. What's happening elsewhere?
Because I think, first of all, the Orisa is pushing. No, we swapped to D.Va, and the D.Va is pushing high ground.
Yeah.
And second of all, the team, I think the enemy got a bit cocky. That's why the Torbjorn is also so far forward. I think I kill him now. Yeah, because he's just feeding. I don't know.
Should be okay. Nice. Nice. Okay. Now, you know what I'm going to ask you. You know?
I think the best rotation I could make is going right side, because I could get really close to them.
Yep.
But it depends on what the diva is doing and what if my team is pushing up.
Yep, you're saying all the right things, right? It's obviously a very high risk, high reward play, very easy to get punished, but if you time it well, there's an opportunity for a lot of pressure, a lot of picks, a lot of kills. And see, even what you're doing now isn't necessarily bad, right? Like, you are responding to your diva, you are taking an angle, you are taking space. This is fine, you know? This isn't even bad, right? Notice that you're taking an angle as a response to your tank pressure forward. This is fine. Maybe, get her. Oh, you egoed. Use it. Just use it. Get the kill. Get the kill. I swear, if you not hit that shot, I would have cried. Alrighty. So where should you be?
Well, not on card, I guess. But I could actually stay underneath.
You could?
There are Sigmas on high ground.
Yeah. Where else could you go? If you were to contest high ground, from what position would you do it?
I wouldn't go right side, because if I peek right side, they have a lot of range on me. Yeah, it's a really hard question, actually, because the way around is a bit long. And I would again peek like into the Sigma. So
maybe a late peek here to see what's happening as the fight.
But if the Sigma's standing there or pushing,
but he's standing here because the fight hasn't properly started yet, right? Like, let's assume your diva doesn't feed here. You drop off, and then you see their positional rotation. Now you peek here. Now you peek here. Now it's a little bit of range, but which is not exactly what you want versus this composition, but it's a really good angle, right? Same thing would go with right. You know, maybe if you get the opportunity to peek here, it's an opportunity. Another thing about going underneath, which is why I like that suggestion, is it's super sneaky and it's closer.
Yeah, you could flank from behind, And you could also have easy cover and the mini underneath.
Exactly. So I like your first suggestion, I think, the best. Walk. Yes. And that's just a skill check, right? Like, you put yourself in the right position at the right time. The fight is pretty much lost because your diva fed. However,
I missed the shots.
I will say, probably don't need to move as much as you did. I think you're moving to prevent her from getting behind cover. That being said, yeah, the shots have to hit.
Yeah, I think if I would have actually rotated a tiny bit sooner, I would have actually gotten the kill down. Yeah, because the Mercy was moving back and then moving up.
I agree.
Also, yeah, I should take right side again.
At least to break the choke and then deciding from there. Now your diva is just trolling. And then now here they've scouted you, so then now you have to adjust your angle, flank, take a different setup, take a different. What is she doing? Oh, I mean, that's just a skill check, right? She's hard trolling. All right, hide. There you go. Gets close, he's cooked. There you go.
Yeah, now I got the greedy.
That's okay. That's okay. Your supports have, like, their feet nailed. I don't know what's going on. I would be a little bit tilted if I were you right now. I feel like you're getting zero help whatsoever. But yeah, you got too greedy. But here's what we will say. You've deserved to be tilted this fight. Why? What have you done the last 25 seconds?
I killed 2 and forced the rest.
How did you
I
kill
actually
2?
forced the position. Yeah, because they pushed up and I was in a position.
Right. You took a good angle. You took a good angle, right? You took a good angle. You timed it well. You took a good angle. Not only a good angle, but an angle that complements your hero's strengths. So, of course it worked.
And the enemy composition.
Of course. Exactly. So, you know, when you do things like that, the stars align. Let's go. Yes. Again, it's not the perfect angle or flank, but it's the best one that was available given the time that you had. You took it late, and it works. Love to see it. Turret never knew what turret never knew what hit it. I mean, really, truly, killing the turret is important, so it's fine.
Yeah, I just reacted to something red on my screen and I flashbanged.
Get out of here. Get out of here. Right? Not here though. Not here. Where'd you go?
Yeah, it's too close. I should have gone back in the other direction and then underneath, probably.
Here? Could also wrap
around. The problem is the Sigma's. Yeah, I would wrap around because the Sigma is low ground right now and he's contesting card. Yeah.
Don't mash the tank. I know your Diva's feeding, but you're not gonna win. Like, this is what Sigma is the best at, right? So like, you know, you're face tanking here. You're trying to close the distance by running it right down mid, which is not gonna work. You have the right idea, but the wrong execution of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because you're like, you need to close the distance, but the Sigma's just gonna gatekeep you all day long, and so you're dead. Okay. Do you want to look at your soldier play from here, or do you want to jump to the code?
I don't know. I think another code would be more beneficial.
Okay, well, let's do that.
The problem is I don't know if I really have another code. Because like I said, I've been on a losing streak and then I've been on a winning streak.
Well, I mean, if it's a if there's something to learn or a situation that you weren't sure about, or maybe even just a different hero, it's fine.
Well, yeah, I mean, I have a code where I played Pharah at the beginning.
We could talk about some Pharah if you want.
I mean, we could also look at the soldier and
sure, up to you. Up to you.
I mean, I don't know how much time we have left.
We have about 15-20 minutes.
Yeah, so I'd rather look at a bit of Pharah.
Okay,
I don't remember how much Pharah I've been playing though in this match.
That's fine.
So.
Okay. So before we move away from the Cassidy entirely, let's wrap this up in terms of skills that you need to improve. All right. So Cassidy, what do you see? What did you see?
Well, the most like obvious thing is like take a position and like take a sideline and like, keep the sideline.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe it, but yeah, and that depends on what the enemy's position. Like, do I want to play further back or do I want to get closer? And can they punish flanks or not? Or how easy they can punish flanks?
Enemies, composition, thinking, mobility, and range. Right? How does that look?
Yeah, that looks good.
Okay. Think about this pre-fight, right? So you use that downtime effectively. Probably the most important skill a DPS player can build, besides just being able to actually like hit a couple of shots, is pre-fight positioning. Beyond important.
Yeah, I mean, I could improve my aim a little bit. That's also possible.
Yeah.
And also, like, know when to stand still because I can't get punished. So I hit more shots.
To stand still to easier shots. And the final fundamental, at least for you, is the greedier the flank angle, the later you go.
Yep.
Right? Okay. Any questions from any and all of that?
Nope.
Okay. Let us continue. Now, the nice thing about Pharah, and this is what I was saying about DPS, is it's the same. Like, you look at the enemy composition and you're like, okay, I could definitely get greedy spam from a million miles away, right? You know, maybe I land 2 rockets, but you don't have to. Like, when the fight actually starts, I want to be on top of Zen, over his head. I want to be on top of Soldier, over his head, right? So whereas if it was like a May, Reaper, Sombra, Tracer, I see very little reason too often outside of like dive bombs to get too close, right? Now, that along with cover usage and obviously taking an off angle is going to be really, really important. You are a very, very mobile hero, so the number of angles that you can take is pretty high, right? Like if you consider like it's Hanzo to Pharah, it's kind of like Cassidy to Soldier. Cassidy wants to take angles, but he doesn't have the legs, so he can't always take the angles. Maybe he's a little bit slow. Whereas, you know, for you, you have a lot of mobility. So first thing I would say here, this isn't an angle, right?
No, that's true.
And this is also standing out in the open. Where should you be?
Could have gone out right side and then like fly up right side. So I'm going a sideline and I have a better angle. Yes.
Right. Now it's not permanent because we talked about the soldiers in. You would like to kind of dive bomb them at points, but you can cheat that rule if you have good cover, right? You could spam pretty much every hero that doesn't have a one shot, even an Ashe with cover, right? You could peek, peak. And then obviously the other thing that you could do from this positioning is what can you do ability wise?
Well, again, either depending on what the situation is, I could push forward or fall back.
Yeah, push forward or fall back. Think about your E. Right?
Yeah, I can also boop them, try to boop them off high ground.
Yeah, you can either
dive bomb them.
Like you see your Macho walking forward to here, I might either conk in, right, get over here, or the easier value, especially before the fight starts, is just to conk them off high, right? Either conk them forward or conk them out, right? And then all of a sudden you've created space for yourself to walk forward. That's what concussive blast does. It's one of two ways. It's either enables you to go forward to take an aggressive position quickly and safely, moving from cover to cover, or it takes as, hey, you guys that are in that position that's really annoying for me and my team, go away. So you're either taking space with it directly or indirectly by removing the enemy team from a powerful position. It's one or the other. So for you, the problem with your positioning now is your spam angle is terrible. You don't even have an angle.
And then I get forced out.
And then you get forced out, right? And you don't even have, like, you have zero opportunity to actually hit a concussive blast here. Like, it's ugly, right? Good, good, good. Get off the floor, get off the floor, get off the floor. Now, at some point, where do you want to be here? In the next step, because it's sequential, right? You go from one angle to the next angle to the next angle to the next angle. Where should that next step be?
Well, I could go right side on the other high ground. And then flank from behind or push main, depending on what the enemy does.
And this might be one of those situations where you go, I don't want to cross here safely, so or I don't think I can, so I'm going to conk here, rotate immediately over to here. Or you think that you're safe, you hover across here, and then what do you do with your conk from this position?
Well, I could, depending if someone's on the far high ground, like normally, like sometimes there's an understanding that I could try to conquer out. Or like, just make space by like conking off the team off the bridge. Or
knock them off space on the floor and knock them back into their team. Exactly. Okay, so let's see. Pharah is a lot like, I'm trying to think of like a good example here. Pharah is a little bit like a chessboard. In terms of, like, a lot of the times you move forward and put pressure kind of like one step at a time. The end goal is to get on top of the enemy team and kill them. But to get there, you have to kind of earn it. You set up your piece, you move your bishop from here to there, and then from there to here, and then there to here. And you do like 3 or 4 steps at a time, right? And right now, you're not really, you're just putting out generic pressure on Sigma Shield, right? But you're not actually creating space for your team. You're not really taking an angle. You're not taking the best sightline, right? You do see how like your impact has been very low here. Like even here, right? You could shoot May, but you could also just shoot Sigma here. And what will that force the Sigma to do?
Well, back out and use his abilities.
Right, and then what does that mean for you? Back in. Right. You force him out. Now your team walks forward, and then you've moved on to phase 3, right? Just be sequential about it, right? And then this also is now a time where you could, there you go here too, right? So we have another opportunity here. So nice. I will say, generally, the best execution of this play would have been from where? What's a safer location to do that exact same play?
Well, just above where I am right now. I think you can just fly above the roof.
Right. Steeper angle. And because you have splash damage, steeper angles are always better for Pharah than it is for hit scan. It's hard to aim up. It's hard to aim down, but you have splash. He does not. Right? So it's objectively a benefit for you. And then from here, whatever. Come on, Yazin. Nice. Unlucky, but that's good. Nice job. All right, so we cap. Uh-oh. Oh, no way. little bit blind. Not the best play. So you obviously needed a target there.
I already swapped. I don't think the Pharah's coming back.
Oh, no. Disaster. We could look at some soldier if you'd like to, or if you have another code, we could watch another couple fights from another code.
No,
okay.
I don't know if I have another Pharah code.
That's fine. That's fine. So let's before we move on, let's talk about Pharah. What are some from the little bit of team fight that we saw? What are you seeing? What are some skills?
Best thing or the most important thing is the sequential. like pushing up or taking space,
So
and just generally peek in an angle that I can get value from, depending on like the enemy composition. Like normally I peeked bottom left for some reason.
Right.
In the first fight, I should have peeked like right side so I can actually fly up.
Right.
And use my strength to my advantage.
And then concussive blast. What is the dichotomy of that skill?
Well, either try to get the enemy out of position, like from high ground or something, or like moving to cover.
Yeah. How does that look for you?
No, it looks good.
Okay. Okay. Well, we can keep going. Do you want to look at some soldier casting Pharah? Do you have a quick play code if you want May? Like I don't know. I'm down for whatever you'd like to do. We got another 5-6 minutes at least.
Yeah, let's just talk about a bit of soldier next.
Okay.
Just to round it up.
Okay, let me like the next session. Do you want to go back to the Blizzard world, or do you want to look at the attack with the
I think it's a better example, because if I remember correctly, the Sigma just zones our entire game, our entire team, the entire game.
Okay, so we'll go back to Blizzard world then.
I think it's like 3 minutes or something, or I don't know actually.
Yeah, so right on here, right?
It's in 6 minutes actually.
Okay. Okay. So Soldier is very similar to Cassidy in terms of like the dichotomy, but I think Soldier is a little bit more of the long range, slightly, and generally deeper flanks just based off the nature of your legs. So there's more flexibility.
Like the healing station, I mean.
Right, so there's a little bit more
self-sustain. Yeah.
Now the funny thing here is that I actually think the Soldier is quite bad on this point. But let's talk about that. Why is the Soldier quite bad at this point?
Well, you can't really take hard flanks or just flanks in general, because the only flank route is left side. Or if you want to go all the way to their spawn and flank from behind, but that's also kind of weird.
Right. So I actually think that like it's going to be tricky for you to find the sightline that you want here. You will be able to create a little bit of distance, but it's tricky. See, like here, it's fine because you hit a nade, but do you see how this feels like, ugh, right? This feels close.
Yeah, the Sigma could easily shoot me.
Yeah. Wait, I just noticed something. Look at your gun. Do you see the blue light with helix on your gun? I just noticed that, and then it goes orange when you don't have it.
Yeah.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, that's true.
And also
the ammo capacity.
Yeah. I noticed that with Sojourn. It took me like 6 months of seeing. Like, oh. Yeah. But yeah,
and in Sombra it's been Hex.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, I mean, this is it's a fine sightlane, I suppose, but it just feels very close, very easy to bully you out. I think probably here, unironically, being on the floor, like as bad as it seems, or literally going on that flank that we talked about, where like, okay, yes, you could be hacked by Sombra, but at least it will be just Sombra. Genji won't be able to get to you. Sigma won't be able to get to you. I really do probably think hard flanking here, or just standing behind your tank on a slight off angle would be probably better than where you are. You just don't get anything from being that close. You know what I'm saying? It just feels rough, you know? This is fine. At least you have a little bit of distance here. At least it's a harder flank. But then the irony is then you have the flank, and then you're like, well, anyway, I've got to go back to where I was. Where you have a worse off angle and you're closer. By the way, check your movement. You're 80-80 strafing a blade that is not even on top of you.
Yeah, my movement is definitely something I have to work on.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's like, movement in this game is so harsh and so powerful that even if your aim was like really, really good, like top 500, right? You still would not want to be moving there, right? It's like you can't. You could definitely practice your aim when you're moving. You need to be able to do that, but even then, pros are still looking for any opportunity they can stop moving. They need to stop moving. Where should you be here?
It's hard to say because I don't think the tank is back yet. So I don't want to, and generally I want to play range, but yeah, I could just
Maybe
go to the right.
deeper angle, right? Just use the legs a little bit, because remember that what makes soldier unique are the legs, right? So it's you can not just run away if they push you on the deep angles, but it's like that extra second you'd save because you're faster to get here, right? You get to those angles a little bit faster than, like, let's say a Cassidy, and you
Yeah.
don't press W.
Oh man.
That's okay.
I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing here.
That's okay. That's okay.
Pushing
I mean, it happens, right? Like in the chaos of fights, and like, you know, people stuff gets messy. You're trying to finish off the Genji quick, and so on. But obviously, like here, it's just like, well, how you press your advantage is really important. And again, like, you're so close right now. What are your options here? You got really 2, maybe 3.
Well, I could go on a flank on the left. It's kind of risky, and it takes a really long time for my position. So
okay,
I could
you
try
don't
to
have
go.
time then.
Yeah, so the only thing I see is, like where you said before, like behind the one pillar.
Yeah, just distance,
bottom,
right?
tank,
Just even here, right? At least you have some sort of distance. You're not going to be able to check everything off the list, but at least you're better than where you are right now, to where you're not worried about Flux, you're not worried about EMP, you're not worried about Blade, you're not worried about Nade, you're not worried about Sigma spam, you're not worried about Genji dash. Like, everything is better from that position. Like right now, you don't get hit by Flux. But if you were here, you wouldn't worry about getting hit by Flux. You would just be M1ing and pressuring, right?
Yeah,
so,
and I could, like, the problem is I have to sacrifice doing damage in order to stay alive.
Exactly,
and,
exactly.
The other position wouldn't do that.
Exactly. You would be able to have your cake and eat it too. You'd be able to actually do damage. And then obviously, like, now you're getting hit by everything.
No.
Like the Sigma should have to go, do I shoot tank, or do I take the time to, like, actually push the DPS out of the off angle? You're allowing him to do both. Right, you're making it very easy, very simple for them to control space. Obviously here, like, not a lot you can do. You need to just kind of wait. You could, if you were to take an angle right now, by the way, and like try to do damage, where would you be?
Well, I would have gone left side out of spawn and then
create some distance, right? Create some distance. At least putting pressure from here, it's very difficult for them to clear you out. But here, it's like even your rollout doesn't make sense given the situation, right?
No.
Okay, let's stop there. Let's stop there. So we've got War and Peace in your DMs. Soldier 76. More words. What needs to be practiced?
Like taking range, like similar to Cassidy, I guess. Like which angle and positioning, just so that the angles and positioning can be either a bit more aggressive or a bit more flanky.
More
because of the survivability
and further away. But versus Widowmaker, you'd be playing like a Tracer. Versus Genji Sombra, you'd be playing like a Widowmaker, right?
Yep. It depends on what the enemy is.
Right. And I feel like that's the vast majority of your problems with DPS, are like adjusting to those and understanding that, right? That dichotomy and that adjustment, that dynamic. Okay. Range and angles. I mean, that's the joke with Spilots. Every session is timing and angles, right? That's all we ever talk about. But it's so important. Like, it's I guess one other thing we could add in there is the movement as well. Looking at your movement habits, because we could talk about micro till the cows come home, but it's not even worth it until you at least are putting yourself in at least decent positions. Right. And I think at least, obviously the point was difficult, so we'll give you some slack there, but you were not doing yourself any favors.
No.
Okay.
I mean, that's also, I know when my team also makes mistakes, but it doesn't, like, I can't get any value from analyzing my team's mistakes.
Exactly.
I'd rather analyze my own mistakes so I can actually improve.
Exactly. It's like that Blizzard World First Point attack. You know, like some of those fights are just completely garbage. Like there's nothing you could have done, but you can still treat it as like a psychological exercise of like, what can I do? What can I do? And ultimately, like when your tank finally does the right thing, you're going to be ready for it, right? You're going to be you're going to win that fight. Okay. Do you have any questions?
Nope, everything was really clear.
Okay.
Even though like 2 minutes on Soldier gave me a
Good.
A lot of information.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. It's all about building good habits, right? Like what you're doing pre-fight, thinking about like the strengths of your hero, and that's even where like little details like ult tracking comes into play, right? Like the depth of your angle. Like if they've got nano blade, maybe you go in a hard flank, right? On Cassidy, right? It's something that you wouldn't normally do, but you got nothing to lose, right? So you might as well. But yeah, there's a lot of details there. Okay, so if you do have any questions,